In the world of cybersecurity, sometimes the biggest, most heavily guarded fortresses are brought down by the tiniest of keys. Today, we're digging into how one single malicious email managed to breach one of Australia's top universities. We're going to break it all down to understand exactly how this happened and, more importantly, what it means for all of us. So, our story kicks off at the Australian National University, or ANU for short. Now, to really get how big a deal this breach was, you first have to understand who the target was. Look, we're not talking about just any old college here. ANU is a world-class, top-tier research university. It's exactly the kind of place you'd expect to have ironclad, high-level security, right? I mean, this is a hub for innovation, for sensitive government research, and of course, it holds the personal information for thousands and thousands of students and staff. And yet, this entire digital fortress was compromised by what seems like the simplest weapon imaginable: a single email. Honestly, this is the one detail that makes this whole case so fascinating and, frankly, so incredibly alarming. Just one message. That's all it took to kick the door wide open. And the stakes? They could not have been higher. The attackers got their hands on the crown jewels of university data. We're talking names, home addresses, payroll info, bank account numbers, passports, student grades, basically everything a hacker would ever want for identity theft, espionage, or launching even more attacks. Which brings us to the biggest question of this whole explainer. How? I mean, how does a well-funded, well-defended, prominent university fall victim to something like this? Well, that is exactly what we are about to unpack, piece by painful piece. Okay. Let's put on our detective hats and start the forensic analysis. The attacker's first move? It was a genuine masterpiece of social engineering, and it targeted the university's most trusted asset, its people. So this wasn't your average, everyday, hey, you've won the lottery, spam email. No way. The attackers used a highly targeted technique called spear phishing. It's not about casting a wide, sloppy net and hoping for the best. It's about crafting a personalized, totally believable message aimed at one specific, high-value person. It's precision hacking. And here it is. This is the most chilling detail of the whole attack. The senior staff member who got the email didn't even have to click a link. They didn't have to download anything. The attack was so advanced that the malicious code ran the moment the email was simply previewed in their inbox. Their login details were stolen before they even had a chance to think, this looks a bit fishy. So once they were in, the attackers followed a very clear 3-step playbook. Step 1, initial access, was done. They got that with the preview paint trick. From there, they moved on to Step 2, escalation. They used those stolen credentials to start poking around, even finding public info like staff directories on ANU's own website to make their next moves look even more legit. And that led to Step 3, lateral movement, where they use that initial foothold to jump from system to system, burrowing deeper and deeper into the network. And this just shows the difference so clearly. Over on the left, you've got your standard phishing email. It's generic, impersonal, probably full of typos, pretty easy to spot if you're paying attention. But on the right, that's the spear phishing used against ANU. It was personalized, it likely referenced internal projects or people, and it was aimed at a very specific high-value target. It's the difference between a shotgun blast and a sniper's bullet.
And this wasn't some quick smash and grab. This was a patient, persistent campaign. In late November 2018, a routine firewall update actually booted the attacker out by pure chance. It was just dumb luck. But they didn't give up. Just 2 weeks later, they were back, trying new ways in. For months, from December through March, ANU's security team was in a constant digital firefight, detecting and blocking follow-up attacks. This was a sustained siege.
The technical battle was one thing, but the fallout, the real-world damage, that was something else entirely. Let's take a look at the massive ripple effect this breach caused. So first and foremost, you have the data itself. It was confirmed that confidential information on thousands of students and staff was accessed. But one of the most unsettling parts of this whole thing is that the university could never figure out exactly how much data was actually stolen. That left this giant cloud of uncertainty hanging over everyone. Next up is something you can't put a price tag on: reputation. ANU, a symbol of academic excellence, was suddenly all over the news for a massive security failure. The university faced intense public scrutiny and had to start that long, hard road of rebuilding trust with its students, its staff, and all of its research partners. And of course, there was a very real, very heavy price tag. This attack triggered a massive internal response. A huge amount of time, money, and manpower had to be pulled away from education and research and poured into investigating the breach, recovering systems, and completely overhauling their defenses. And we absolutely cannot forget the human cost here. This wasn't just about servers and firewalls. For the people whose data was exposed, the psychological impact was incredibly real. Staff and students were left feeling anxious, with serious concerns about their personal privacy, wondering for years if their data was out there on the dark web or being used against them. You know what they say, every crisis is a chance to learn something. So what were the critical takeaways from the ANU breach? What weak spots did it expose for the whole world to see? Well, here's the rundown. First, the attack proved just how devastatingly effective a well-crafted spear phishing email can be. It drove home the absolute need for constant training for all staff on good cyber hygiene. It showed why you have to be monitoring your network 24/7 to spot weird activity. And it also proved that you need a defense-in-depth strategy, multiple layers of security, because you have to assume that determined, persistent attackers will eventually get past one of them. Okay, so understanding the problem is half the battle. Now let's look at the blueprint for building a much stronger defense, based directly on the tough lessons learned from this very attack. So here is the game plan for a proactive defense. First thing, non-negotiable, multi-factor authentication, or MFA. That single step makes stolen passwords almost useless. Then you harden the gates. Beef up your email security to block threats before anyone even sees them. And you train your people with realistic phishing drills so they build that muscle memory for spotting fakes. And finally, you have to prepare for the worst. That means constantly testing your own defenses and having an incident response plan that you've actually practiced. So if the worst happens, you're not just making it up as you go. So we'll end on this thought. The ANU breach proved without a doubt that technology alone isn't enough. The human element, that's often the most critical variable in the whole equation. And it really forces all of us to ask ourselves, in our own digital lives, is our weakest link some complicated password we can barely remember? Or is it just that one moment of distraction, that one quick preview, that one thoughtless click?